Welcome to Homestead Reptile. And today's episode on Morph History is going to be about the three basic base colors. So, the three basic base colors are yellow, red, and brown and blacks. So, all these base colors come from the wild. They come from buckskins, and this is an example of a buckskin. So, those colors combined make a buckskin, or two of those colors combined make a buckskin. So these three different colors live in the dermis in three different sections. So we have melanophores, which is the bottom layer. We have iridophores, which are the middle layer, and xanthrophores, which is the top layer. Xanthrophores hold two pigmentations. So reds and yellows both live in the same section, xanthrophores. Iridophores reflecting pigmentation. So bluish, greenish hues, it reflects light. And then melanophores, which you can guess melanin, is the dark pigment, and that's at the bottom layer. So all three of these pigments, which I'm going to call the primary pigments, are yellows are dominant, black is dominant, yellow is recessive. So all three of these pigments are our primary colors because all other pigments after this are going to be polygenic. So they need two of the base pigments to make their own pigment. So an example of that is orange is polygenic. Another example is olive, which is also polygenic. And another example is lavender, which is also polygenic. They need two of the base colors to make their own color. They're not their own color. They need two of the base colors. So our first example is red. Red is recessive. So red trait's recessive. And in the red spectrum, you have multiple different shades of red. So you have pink, which is the super hypo red. You have neon red, which is the second hypo red. Then you have your fire engine red. You have brick red, darker reds, muddy reds. So the spectrum of red is huge, but it is a recessive trait. And then this guy is a muddy red because he comes from a yellow and red pairing. So remember I told you guys that the xanthrophores hold yellow and red pigment because they both inhabit the same section. And when this animal fires up, he's expressing the red pigment in the same section, and he's also expressing the yellow pigment in the same section. So both colors are competing for the same exact section, and when both these colors compete, they make mud. So that's mud. So this is a yellow gecko, and this is what, if he was a pure yellow gecko, mud would look something similar to this or brighter than this. So this is a yellow tiger, or what they call a blonde strawberry tiger. It has the red striping. So sometimes if you get lucky from a red and yellow pairing, you might get something like this. But most of the time you're going to get a mud. But because mud is the way he is, if I took him and I bred him to a yellow animal, because yellow is dominant, so I took him and bred him to another yellow animal, that red's going to be recessive and it won't express. And that yellow is going to look just pure yellow. And if I bred him to a red, then hopefully half of those babies are going to look very red and nice. So this guy comes from a yellow and black pairing. And you can see, unlike mud, this is an orange animal, so polygenic. They needed two of those traits to make this coloration. So this guy is a very decent color. He's a decent orange, and he's just going to get better as he ages. So he's a very decent base color. Unlike mud, who is a muddy brown. When he's fully fired up, I can tell the red's a little bit more dominant than the yellow. But it's a bad looking color. It's a weird color. But this is a polygenic trait right here, and he needed two of the primary colors to make this. So yellows and blacks make good pairings. Yellow and reds and blacks make good pairings. So this is also another yellow and black pairing. So this guy fires up a pretty dark brown coloration. But again, this coloration is still, he's not fired up, it's still much better than mud's coloration. So this is a yellow and black combo. And why these make a better pairing than a yellow and red is because Yellow is at the top layer, black is at the bottom layer. So when he's fired up, they're not competing at the same layer. They're complementing each other. So you don't get a bad tone colored animal. And I have another example of a jet black animal. And this again is a yellow and black pairing. So this is Mud when he's fully fired up. So red and yellow pairing. You can see that red is a little bit more strong. And this is a black and yellow pairing. You can see this guy is very dark. Take him out in full sunlight, he's jet black. And then this is Mud again. You see what I'm saying when I say the red's a little bit more dominant than the yellow. So this is an example of a super soft, and this is the iridophores in action, that reflecting of light. And that's poor little Mud.